A background information about this photo. So I took from one of the most Chinese famous Buddhist mountains. So there are 4 most prominent Buddhist mountains, and also the 4 famous destination of pilgrimage. Yeah, for Chinese Buddhists here. Okay. Yeah, here is one, and this is mountain dedicated to this figure. So Avalokitesvara, Guanyin. So it's so popular since pre-modern China. And I visited this site 2 years ago. And yeah, this we haven't started yet. I just give some background information. Yeah, because I love to introduce. I usually use all my photos taken from my field work as to making my to editing my sites. So yeah, so this is the very close, so more than 20 meters high Avalokitesvara imagery I took from the other side. And this is also, this Putuo mountain is located on the east coast of China, South China. It's so popular. So you haven't seen any people because you just taken photo from the far away, but actually you will see millions of people that's visiting. It's so crowded, and then the air being filled with all the incense smells there. Yeah, so it's very popular until nowadays. A lot the believers and a lot the pilgrims and a lot of the donors come. Yeah, so one of my favorite photos, because my family also, when I was a child, we've been deeply engaged in the belief of this Guanyin and Avalokitesvara. And also this figure being very close related to women too, because they're, so this figure has been himself, actually he's a male, the figure, but being feminized, according to the Chinese history and culture. So yeah, this is some
20 meters?
Oh, I think more than 20 meters. Right. Yeah, so Buddhists, they are very enthusiastic in making colossal images. We have the 30 meters, 20 meters, even the biggest one I think in China is the 100 meters in Sichuan, in southeast China. And then become the destination for pilgrimage. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Please. Okay. You're sure? Yeah. Yeah. You can't miss this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so this is some my personal reflection after I attended your panel and also yesterday's discussion. So let me give myself this very brief self-introduction. I'm not a scholar of social work, but I got my PhD in religion studies and specializing in Buddhist and East Asian religions. And I'm teaching as a sessional lecturer now at the University of Toronto. I'm teaching Buddhism and global Buddhism and material religion museum. So, and then I have the master degree in archaeology, and I've been doing archaeology before I came to Canada, enrolled in my PhD program. So I used to be in the archaeology for 8 years and working on the Buddhist sites in China and just did the digging, excavation and on-site investigation. So yeah, and so after yesterday our discussion on the spirituality and definition of religion, I kind of have this self-reflection about who I am. So I define myself being consist of these the 4 dimension. So I have this cultural tradition. I'm Asian, I'm East Asian. I'm just belong to this ethnic minority group, and then being heavily and influence my own culture, as I just said, those the indigenous Chinese religion thoughts Confucianism, Taoism, there's some kind of the ideas confluent in my mind. So this is and I use this culture. I can just being united, just connected to my family and my lineage. And also education is more my background as a scholar and what kind of academic training, which require me to be more rational and be objective than to looking all these materials. It's kind of the outsider-insider's perspective. I'm the insider, and same time as a researcher, I'm the outsider. And then I also have this, I claim myself as Buddhist. And because I grew up in the Buddhist family, so I have my religion affiliation, but I just different understanding of the meaning of spirituality and religion to me. For me, religion affiliation is more social image. more like the attached to my community. So it's kind of like an interaction with my community. And the spirituality and spiritual journey is more like personal thing. Like I can develop my own spiritual perspective under my religion practice, under my religion like the training. So this is I am. And the other thing I think I just want to add from like as my unique perspective, and also like most scholar we met today in Canadian academia. Academia is more focused on like the Western religion or modern religion, not like the Abrahamic religion century. So which I would like to address that. In Asian, a lot of Asian tradition, especially East Asian tradition like Taoism, Buddhism, and Confucianism, and they were not like clear boundary between these three kind of concept here. Even the concept of religion was imported to East Asian in Japanese by the end of 19th century. So before that, all these East Asian society have no idea what is religion or religious, and no idea. We have Shukyo, we have the Buddhist school, we have the institute, but we don't have these religions. So like some Japanese coined this idea by the end of 19th century when they first met the American and like the Western people from the like Western people, and then they say, oh, we should have a word and to communicate with them about religion. Yeah, and then also the spirituality, you cannot very easily tell the differences between spirituality and religion when you're talking about regarding East Asian religion. So this is kind of my thoughts, and then emerged from our yesterday's talk. Yeah, so, and this is me. So in this, my research, my primary sources kind of come from very unique sources because I'm not focused on people, talking to people. I wish I could, but all my materials, they were people behind this lifeless stone. So yeah, this is one of the Buddhist sign I've been working with like for a couple of years, and this is me a couple of years ago, and then be working like doing archaeology investigation and making records and investigation of all these Buddhist images and transcribed all like the inscriptions left by the ancient Buddhists. So this is kind of like the context in like information about my research. And now my ongoing research is about, this is all the Buddhist women's images I identified in the Sai. So in all the caves on Sai. So this is women who lived in almost like the 8th century into century China, and they engraved their image here. They asked the Buddhist donor, they just paid money into the craftsmen, and then they engraved images as a very devotional Buddhist here. And my job now, I'm thinking how I can just connect them to the contemporary society. So here is the one photo I took, the photo mountain, the very popular like the Buddhist temple. You see like people like give offerings here. They are still like doing the same thing, like to offering the incense and to like worshiping the Buddha. And this is another photo I took from the website of the Foguangshan temple, which is one of the most famous Buddhist, Taiwanese Buddhist temple. Now I reside in Mississauga. So yeah, what's the connection between, and what kind I can use my research and to helping and to enrich nowadays the Asian community, or like nowadays the Canadian society. So this is my thought. And I throw my this research question as, why did women, when facing life transitions and they seek support and find the solace in Buddhist practice, and all my like a little bit about methodology is this, their stories and words all come from these three types of primary sources: textual records, epigraphic resources, and also archaeology evidence. My goal is trying to explore how ancient practice and traditional value can inform and enrich modern society. And especially like in my teaching, like for like in my like communication, like with the young people nowadays come from very diverse background in my class, and then how I can use the ancient wisdom and to guide them and to help them. And then as an insider, as a researcher, educator, practitioner, even maybe, I'm thinking about like doing like the expand my research into social work, and because I can use this information and strategy and helping people, especially like women in the Asian communities nowadays. Okay. So this is my the research I want to present. There are 4 figures that they said. So unfortunately, they were not alive anymore, but they are all living in the 8th century. And but I recover their story from all these materials I study on, and I do all the translation. And in my a dissertation, partly in my dissertation, and also some in my the previous conference presentation. And all these women, they share some very similar life trajectory, all living in a major the capital city, and they all belong to the elite family, which means that at that time they just live with the male householder with the official titles, very prestigious, and they're all well educated and being regarded as example model women, and according to the dominant social norms like Confucian ideology. But why they just took refuge and they just seek the comfort from Buddhism? So this is something and we can think about, and also just one thing we can feel, we can see is they all encountered and they're just facing these significant life challenges, like long-term widowhood and the loss of children, or they've been a contract with incurable illness and then facing death. And then I'm going to tell some stories and narratives. So I hope you can join the story, and which I reconstruct from all this historical evidence. Here is one of my favorite story about this Lady Liu. So our story happened in 1603 years. So and happened in this place. So this is the aerial viewed photo we took from the south of this most prestigious Buddhist site, which hosts more than 2,000 Buddhist caves. And Lady Liu, and she is attached with one of the Buddhist project here. So on the one hot summer day in the 3 years, and we can see the one young woman who dressed in a very fire attire and accompanied by servants, and she journeyed in the carriage and from the south to the north. So she is on the traveling to the capital city. But she seems the young lady was called Lady Liu, and then she was a widow who had newly lost her husband. And she was on a trip to Luoyang, perhaps to attend some few family matters left by her husband. So her family lived in a villa in the south of this area, and she needed to travel to the city because and her husband just really passed away, and newly passed away, and she was immersed in the grave. A great sorrow of losing her life companion, but more than that, she was concerned about losing the source of income for the entire family due to her husband passing away. So her eldest son is still was only 13 years old, and she still had another younger son and at least 3 daughters, all relied on her. So what was she going to do? Deal with that situation. So the burden of supporting the whole family was laid on this young widow's shoulder. And when she traveled this area, the East Valley, and burdened with worries and uncertainty about the future, and she witnessed the majestic, towering the summit with the lofty cliffs, and standing along the riverside. And she views majestic landscape, and she got the very spiritual and transcendent journey here. And she saw these thousands of caves, and nature is raging like stars inside these numerous caves, Buddhist images in various sizes with elaborate decoration all face her with their luminous visages as 10,000 manifestations of the Buddha. So deeply moved by this sacred beauty and reflecting on her own worldly struggles, and Lady Liu, likely she was a devout Buddhist since very young, and she promptly made the heartfelt vow before the Buddhas And she earnestly prayed for the well-being of her children. And she pleaded that for the Buddha to ensure all her children's future success. She promised, I will come back one day if you can, all my wishes could be fulfilled one day. And then our story jumps to much later. And then when it comes to the 705 years, it's more than 40 years later, finally, 42 years passed, and some point in the 705 years, a large cave here on the south end of this mountain, and were patronized by Lady Liu, were finally, and her descendants finally completed. So this is the number of the cave, so like the 1955 numbers. And the donor made a stele outside the cave to engrave their donative inscription, so which we can know about the Lady Liu's story. So this is why we can reconstruct her story. And then let's take a close look of these caves. So kind of like the 3-4 meters high. It's a very huge project here. So so from this stele here, and we know that all Lady Liu's wish has been successfully fulfilled. So all her children very healthy and safely grow up, and her son become a very prestigious official, and her all 3 daughters married to the official. So they're very successful marriages. So then after 42 years, and she gathered all the children and grandchildren together and to complete this Buddhist project here. And we can take a look into this. Into this cave. So this cave inside is more than 3 meters, about 4 meters high, and all these images, even though the partly damaged due to later some the historical reason, erosion, but yeah, still in a very well condition, and you can see the very the high artistic level in this image, which means they have the best craftsmen at that time, and also all being made life size. And this kind of become the testament of the Lady Liu's life achievement, and also the testament of her spiritual journey and religion practice. And also I think by holding this vault, and this vault, holding this vault become the source of comfort, and to supporting her, and to go through and all these hardships and she encountered in life, and then to mentally support her, and until the end of her life. Must be careful about life. I like telling stories, and I like crafting narratives from these historical material. So these are another images in the side walls of this cave. You see, very high art level. Gorgeous. Yeah, it's all gorgeous. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, so then, and she expressed her wishes on this stele that almost have been worn out, but we can still recover about 200 characters from this stele. So she said I wish all the donors, including her and all her grandson and family, she said, we can receive the glory and happiness together, and sons and grandsons constantly maintain peace and happiness. So they are this is the story of the spiritual journey of Lady Liu, and I should say the spiritual is not religious. Religious is more about your social and religious responsibility, but here it's kind of spontaneous, that proper vow made by a very spiritual journey, and then she and carry this journey, and then but then this kind of the idea, this kind of project simplifies, symbolize testament, also the promise of the prosperity and safety of her family. Yeah, I'm going to moving quickly. Another story of another lady is about you can see another perspective of her, this lady. I'm not going all through, but it's just simply talks about after her husband passed away at a very young age, and this lady Yun, and she just gave up all these like very like the luxuries silk garments and all these jewels, and then she like she has been wearing this mourning attire for a long time, and being like to like strictly follow the Buddhist idea, like the social norm as the model woman. However, as she got older, and she naturally like embraced Buddhist ideas, and she approached meditation wisdoms for a long time. And then before the time of her passing, and before when she is in the time of passing, and she said, I've already walked into the gate of emptiness early and aimed to be reborn to the Pure Land. And then she enjoyed her son, and you don't bury me with your father. And then I want to be buried in under stupa, which is a Buddhist monument, and then in the Buddhist side. Yeah, so this is the story, so we can recall from these old ladies. And this is another interesting example I want to present, because this lady, she only lived a very short time, she passed away in the age of 22 years, but the information reflected from her epitaph is very like rich. It's very like, this like carrying a lot of context at that time. And then by the end of, and she has a very miserable and challenging life, even though was born in a prestigious family. But however, she lost her child when this child, I guess, was just newly born and being described as taken by heaven. And she also immersed in the grave, the sorrow, and by losing the son. And then she embraced Buddhist practice, chanting, which I will show later. And then by the end of her passing, and she herself said, I want to be buried in a stupa, and then in the Buddhist side. So this is not the same side. This is me during another investigation fieldwork. I can show you what this kind of stupa looks like, and then just bury under this Buddha, like the size. And so there's some information which I translated from these ladies and these Buddhist women's epitaph, and showing how they engaged in this practice, how they embraced this practice, and to helping them to coping with this grief. I copied the sutras, and make more than 1,000 metal bronze and different materials, images. And I also adopt a vegetarian attire and constantly host a feast, donating herself to rituals and repentance tirelessly. And also this lady, and just a young woman who passed only 22 years old, and she studied under a Chan master, and then engaged in the esoteric Buddhist practice, just mixed it together. And also she just upheld these mantras, chanting them all the time, hundreds of millions of times, and she refined her voice and synchronized it with the text, creating unified one sound. So she created one sound from after chanting all these hundreds of million times of the mantra. And another lady, and she said even though she stayed at home in her long-term widowhood, but she stayed at home but strictly observed all the monastic rules. So she regarded herself as a nun, ordained nun. Yeah. Some images about how this devotional practice, like the Copy Sutra, and this one is unique from another example showing women actually using their blood, and they purse their fingers and use blood and mix with the ink, and to transcribe and copy this, show their devotional practice, this transcendent practice. And this, it was not painting, this is the embroidery. Yeah, of Guanyin is also the Avalokitesvala figure, and this is a detail you can see. They use the hair. They just use the hair and to do this, and by doing so, they believe they can carry this the spiritual, the power of the. Hi. Yeah. So the third aspect of what I learned from these Buddhist women is how they engaged in Buddhist funeral practice, and to as their spiritual aspirations. The one thing I should emphasize, what I found from all these materials, Buddhist teaching offer these women, especially these women who aligned with the Confucian idea, but the Buddhist teaching offer them a way of liberation, which means that they can cut off their marital bonds after they die. So this is how they cope with their death. Like, I want to be reborn to the Pure Land. And what I can do is that don't bury me with your father, don't bury me with your ancestors. I'm going to bury in the Buddhist side, in the Buddhist way. So by doing that, I can be transcended. I can be reborn into the land of pure land. So I'm pursuing the Buddhist rebirth. Yeah, and then to bring peace to my spirit. Yeah, this is the kind of like the strategy they can use. Some example, vivid example I'm showing you. So this is one burial cave. You don't need to go through a whole list, but you're welcome to. Yeah, if you have any questions about this, all my translations. So yeah, just will helping to give me feedback. So this woman, she before she died, and she vowed to abandon her body. It's kind of a very radical Buddhist practice. Like some of them, they just expose their bodies in the wild and to feed animals as a kind of self-immolation and sacrifice. And then it described her burial by her husband, says that her corpse lays in the concealed cliffs and her soul is hidden in the solitary rock. Yeah, so this is the way, this is this cave. Now I'm showing the location on the side. So this is what we can approach this site nowadays. And also the stupa burial, I have some evidence because the part on the ground already gone. So we only have this like the underground chamber being discovered nowadays. I was there when this tomb was opened. We can unearth a lot like the ashes, bones, fragmentary bones still from this of their occupants. And this is a kind of similar thing that made me think about. This I took from another Buddhist site, but you can have the feel like how this burial stupa being located and to arouse a lot of the spiritual sense, like because they just like overlook the whole valleys and be erected in the top of the mountain, and then just like kind of like surrounding by the nature and by the all either Buddhist temples and Buddhist images surrounding. So they've been like immersed in a very well integrated with this majestic natural landscape here. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this is almost the end of my presentation. So this is what I'm trying to do and to analyze this life story, and then also like to think about the motivation of women why they embrace these Buddhist teachings instead of the mainstream social norms, because they share a similar life trajectory, and then most of them they lose family support or they become like the like very huge like grief in their life, but they still need to carry family responsibility, like you lost husband, but still need to stick to social norms, and then be very like the desirelessness. Like you cannot have any desire, being still like the obedient, and so you have very limited options. So both from the mental and from the social perspective, these women in ancient Chinese they have only very limited option. One is like you can follow Buddhist way, because there is a really good aligned with some of the social like mainstream the social value, and then you just dedicate yourself into Buddhist practice. Like one, and it can help you coping with these life transitions. Because you believe in rebirth, you believe in the karmas. So this can help you with to go through whole this hardship and bringing inner shift. And the other thing is that once you join this Buddhist practice, you can force the sense of all these women. They can force the sense of Buddhist community, and also. Lastly, if there's a suffering you cannot solve in this life, we have next life. We have like the afterlives, and then you can pursue your spiritual goals in next life, like rebirth, a Buddhist rebirth. So this is how what I'm trying to analyze the motivation of these women. So lastly, what I want to do and is very. Like some simple thoughts now I have so far. As I said, I'm the scholar of the religion study, but I want to expand some new direction by incorporate with the study of social work and to see what my study can do now here in contemporary Canadian society and universities. So I want to build a conversation across time space, because we don't treat these ancient like relics and figures as no related. We're related. We're related. We're ancestors. Yeah, they are human beings still. We can bring in life. We can just give them voices, and also research structural religion, spiritual journey, which I say hidden from history. And still, we can learn from the past and help understand the present. What is women coping with this grief? What kind of issues still exist in nowadays the society? Like human beings still need to experience this grief, sorrow, uncertainty, interruptions. Yeah, still we need to cope with this. And then lastly, I hope I can explore the new paths for religion studies and social work to support Asian communities in nowadays our society. Okay, so this is all my presentation, and thank you so much. Thank you. I look for your feedback and comments and advice.